So why did you finally decide on him? What did you need?
What do we need? That's an interesting question. We thought it'd be easy. We thought there'd be like 100 people who could play this part because it's kind of an everyman part, and it's I don't know. We kept telling each other, all we need is a good, clean boy. How come we can't find him? Yes. It's actually unbelievably difficult because a lot of it is non-verbal. A lot of it is just process. You're watching the character do his thing physically. You need somebody who's going to be compelling to watch. I can't say these things in front of Chuck.
I know, because I've never heard this.
I'm trying to help you out.
And I've actually gotten him drunk and then tried to get him out of here.
Say that.
Tell me the reality.
How was I?
And he just fell asleep on the boat.
The other thing was that, you know, as you said, we had already cast Tommy Lee Jones and Javier Bardem in the other two parts. It's very much a movie about three men, equal weight in the movie, each of the three. And so the bar had been set very high in terms of our own thinking and just in terms of what we knew we needed in that part. We didn't want, you know, the audience to think when we cut away from Tommy and from Javier, okay, well now we're going with the dull guy for a while. It was somebody who had to be able to hold their own in terms of that sort of, you know, compelling presence in the movie. And we saw lots and lots of people, but it wasn't really until Josh came in and he read some scenes for us in a room, which is a lot different than tape. And that told us what we needed to know. I mean, it's true that after you left the room, we knew we were going to cast it in the movie.
It's got it.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me what sets up the movie, what you do that sets up the movie.
Well, I mean, he's a guy who lives in West Texas, who's really a part of West Texas. He is West Texas. He's from San Saba County, which is where Tommy Lee's from, which was a whole pressure in itself. But he's hunting antelope. He's out in the middle of the desert, and he runs into a drug deal gone bad, a Mexican drug deal gone bad, finds a truckload of heroin, knows there's money close by, finds the money. And
Couple million.
2.4 million. And then decides to make a better life for himself and his wife. I do think that he's motivated by his extreme love for his wife. You know, he wants to make a better life for her, maybe buy a house. You know, he's never had money. I'm sure generationally they've never had money. So the thought of being able to buy her a nice dress or something like that. So I think his intentions are pure. For sure.
And he thinks he'll never be caught, that nobody will ever find.
No, I don't think I think he thinks there's going to be obstacles, but for a guy who's been in Vietnam twice and gone through two tours, I think he feels resourceful enough to be able to pull it off. He doesn't think there's going to be something, you know, this mythological, you know, Chigurh, you know, death incarnate.
He doesn't think someone like Javier is going to come after him.
I mean, come on, who would? You know, when he shows up.
You know, I mean, this is a
like Godzilla kind of
a character like this. Do you simply go to the text and say, you know, I get it, or do you go somewhere else?
Well, as Joel said before, it was not especially extremely well described physically on the book, so it was wide open to any kind of interpretation. And actually, the only description that I remember is the blue lapis color of the eyes, which is something that I don't have at all.
Exactly, that's true.
But we tried to find a place where the person, which is kind of a embodiment of violence itself, is believable, and people can get related to him in somehow.
Boy, they got related to him, didn't they?
Well, that's the point. In the humor, or in the clumsy way of doing things sometimes.
It is said about you guys, Coen Brothers film is all about structure and process, and that you do more, and I'm opening this up for all of you, you do more in terms of sort of literally laying out every scene, so that by the time you make the movie, you've done all the heavy lifting. Josh?
For sure. I mean, you have sides, you have what are called sides every day, and those are the pages that they're planning on doing, and then behind the sides are their drawings, or J.T. Anderson, no, J. Todd, wow. Anderson's drawings, their storyboard artists, so you know what shots they're going to do, and they stick pretty much to what that is. I mean, not that they're not willing to, you know, be spontaneous or improvise or ad-lib or, you know, all that, but, you know, they've created a very strong foundation to always resort to, you know. And then wherever we go.
I think you ad-libbed one line in the movie.
I would like to think it was more than that. But yeah, there was one line that when I find the money, I look to the dead guy, which is absurd. And then I said, you know what, I think that we should have something here, like he's deciding, okay, the day is going to change, or yes, I'll take the money, or I see where we're going here. So we tried different, what ends up in the movie is, and I can always hear...
That was your improvisation?
That was my improvisation. And I always know where Ethan is in the theater, because I always hear him go... I always hear him. Right. But we tried different ones, I think. I think we tried and then we tried and we came up with
better.
Still my
a wise choice, wasn't it?
favorite speech in the movie.
Yeah,
But tell me more about your philosophy of making movies that reflected in what we just talked about.
Well, it is kind of what Josh says. We have a plan because we're chicken. You know, we don't want to have to go on.
You don't trust your actor? What?
No, not
we
the
trust our
actors.
Yeah.
But just in terms of being our own ability to extemporize on the set, or, you know, the obligation of extemporizing on the set. We don't want that. We want to have a plan for how we're going to shoot the scene, whatever it is. So we walk in with a plan, which, as Josh says, is always kind of subject to change. But, you know, it's kind of a security blanket.
You know, the mythology about Alfred Hitchcock, in fact, he was the biggest promoter of it.
The idea.
Was that idea that, you know, once I actually get on the set, the only thing that can happen is that something can go wrong. He's already made the movie in his head, and he also was sort of, you know, very, very prepared to the extent of having pre-thought the movie before he started production. We're not... You know, I'm not even sure that's true of Alfred Hitchcock in reality. I don't think he could have made 50 movies without enjoying the process of being on the set and working with people. It's such an extremely social and collaborative process. And while it's true that we prepare maybe to an extent greater than a lot of other directors, who, you know, that's just part of our process, it's also true that we like the process on the set of actually seeing what happens, being open to what happens when you go into a new space, when you're working with new people, be they actors or technical people. And we do have storyboards, but actually we don't look at them very much while we're shooting. And once they've been done, we almost never look at the storyboards. We have them in the back of our minds and we follow them to a certain extent, but that changes a lot as we go through the production.
And also, since they deal with the visual way before, they're able to focus on actors, you know, and be able to listen, you know.
That's a good point. I was going to say that.
It's true.
Yeah. In fact, it gives them a chance to be more creative.
Exactly.
If you've already laid out the other things, so you're not worried about that.
Or to be there for the actors when the actors are being more creative, and to be able to go, you know, bring it down or tweak. They do a lot of tweaking. They don't do a lot of massive manipulation.
Got you. Roll tape. Here's a scene.
Well, this is just a deal gone wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Appears to have been a glitch or two.
What calibers you got there, Sheriff?
9mm. Couple 45 ACPs. Somebody unloaded on that thing with a shotgun.
How come you reckon the coyotes ain't been at them?
I don't know.
I think we're looking at more than one fracas.
That Mexican brown dope.
Well, this was earlier. Getting set to trade. And whoa, differences. You know, might not even have been no money.
That's possible.
But you don't believe it.
No. Probably I don't.
Well, it's a mess, ain't it, Sheriff?
If it ain't, it'll do till the mess gets here.
How much do you change the book, other than compress it?
Well, it really is just compression in this case of the adaptation of this book. In other words, we didn't invent any new, you know, we didn't digress, we didn't create new situations or go off on the...
And you never met Cormac before?
No, we met him when we were shooting,
yeah.
But...
That's because of
yeah,
Roland.
because...
Yes. Tell me about the conversation.
Because Josh was stalking him.
Because I was stalking.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the one guy that didn't get afraid.